Hey, it's been literally forever since I had these headphones on. These are my podcast headphones, my little customized headphones. The bow on the side and my flowers. They were super, like, very personality heavy. And I've been fucking with the little small pink microphone lately, but I've been missing my headphone set and I've been missing my microphone. So that's what I'm gonna use today. We in bed with it. I'm naked. It's 10:41 p.m. I'm ready for bed, but I wanted to make this video. I wanted to record this video today earlier, but today's just such a sleepy day. I've been tired as hell, and I wanted to give myself space to sleep before I tried to force myself to record anything. So I took me a little nap, but I still have the energy to record. I just want to be comfortable. So that's why I'm doing it. Welcome to my bed. Welcome to the sanctuary. This is my 12th house. Y'all are in my 12th house. Because 12th house rules over sleep. Pisces. Okay, anyways. So, today's video, I got my notes. Wait, this is not my notes. This is my notes app, but this is not my notes. Where the fuck did I put the fucking notes at? Well, where did I put it? Oh, okay. Okay. Something that I would say before I start this video is I'm excited to be sleepy because for the past 3 years, I have not been sober. I've just been maintaining being high in some way, shape, or form. And this is the longest I've been completely sober. And it is usually I used to smoke very heavily to regulate myself, and I struggled to sleep. And so weed helped me sleep, you feel me? Because it made a bitch tired all day, and then I finally got to sleep. But it feels so liberating to be sober and yawn and be sleepy, it's nice to know that my body is regulated, is working properly because I'm able to be sleepy. I'm able to be tired and my body feels safe enough to even tell me that, So anyways, okay. I have my notes now. And tonight, we're going to talk about the father wound. Buckle the fuck up. In fact, I'm gonna bring you a little closer. Buckle the fuck up, okay? Because this is not no light work. So, I got an outline here because I had a lot of points that I wanted to make. So I'm gonna start off with what the father wound is. And I'm gonna read it off very fucking plainly because I love how I worded everything in here. So, the father wound is the demonization of the shadow or the feminine. It shows up in hypersexuality, and it is the suppression of sensuality. It's rigid gender structures and roles, and it literally creates a grace deficiency, meaning you are unable to give yourself grace. You can't rest or sit with your emotions because you will fall behind. And the father wound enforces the idea that the feminine isn't a part of legacy. She's just the distraction from it. So in other words, your father instills into you whether or not you can trust sitting with your truth. So before I go deeper, that's very plain actually. Your mother teaches you honesty and self-regulation, and your father teaches you self-respect and self-worth, which is the container that allows you to even be able to maintain honesty, They work together, and if your father won't shit, if that nigga won't there, 9 times out of 10 you had to get it out the mud on your own. 9 times out of 10 you had to get that shit out the mud on your own, and you had to create your own structure. And that usually looks like I can do everything on my own. However, either you have people that end up with the father wounds that are damsel in distresses that can do nothing on their own and they just look to everything for a savior, or you have the folk with the father wound that are Mr. Independent, and you could do everything, yet you don't need nobody emotionally. And while independence is definitely important, that's not tea. That's not tea, because if you don't need nobody emotionally, that's gonna lead to other things. I'm gonna talk about that. So, okay. So I said in this, it's easy to blur wounds sometimes because we all come from the mother, meaning the father wound will always be a disrespect or lack of reverence to the mother, and the father wound will always be a disregard or suppression of your ability to nurture yourself, because the feminine in his life was unseekable. So pretty much this entire thing is, we all know that everything starts with feminine energy, and masculine energy just carries that out or protects it. So excuse me. Most of the time, the reason why father wounds are so easily mixed up with mother wounds is because the father wound comes from misogyny. The father wound comes from the masculine energy feeling abandoned by the feminine energy, because the way that it works is the feminine positions itself, which is energy. It's here. It's just here. Energy is just here, right? And the masculine, which is us, the human, has the opportunity to bring that feminine into whatever container we'd like to. But we have to seek that. So if we're not aware of the pure potentiality around us, then we don't have anything to transmute. And when we don't have anything to transmute, we're hollow shells of nothing. And that turns into feeling like you're nothing because you don't have anything to seek, because your purpose is to live in harmony and co-create with energy that is neither of the energies are able to be independent of each other. And while feminine energy is feminine energy, and it can be just feminine energy separated itself so that it could experience itself. So at the end of the day, when you see masculine energy, you see feminine energy. When you see feminine energy, you see masculine energy. You feel me? They should be at a dance. It shouldn't be one of those things where we're trying to isolate one or the other, or make one seem like they're more dependent than the other. No, they're equally as dependent on each other. And the father wound will make you think that you can't depend on nothing when life is a dance. So imagine thinking that you can't depend on anything when life is a dance. You're not dancing with shit. You're not dancing with shit. For real. So yeah, so I said, so you'll see yourself overworking emotionally sometimes instead of physically. Ultimately, the father wound is just the root of extremes. Sitting with the feminine allows neutrality, but if that's not welcome, you won't be able to move up and down the spectrum of life without feeling like a failure of some sort. And that's really what it is. The father wound makes you feel like you need to it makes you feel like you need to overproduce in order to be enough. And that can look like so many different things. But ultimately, if you can sense an imbalance in your life, 9 times out of 10, it's because of the father wound. Because if you are healthily in your masculine energy, you should be able to sit with your feminine energy without fearing that you will fall behind in the physical. Like, you should be able to sit with your emotions. And when you can't sit with your emotions, you have to overcompensate, because emotions are like a natural aspect to humanity. Like, they are our humanity, you know what I mean? So that energy has to go somewhere. It just becomes like, it just becomes an overdrive of performance for everything. And I'll get deeper into like what that performance is, but I want you to like literally just think about all of the ways in which you could still be performing in your life. And that could be with anything, like literally anything. So okay, the patterns of the father wound. A lot of us deal with fathers that had mommy issues or was raised by a nigga that was misogynistic, which is still mommy issues. So the father wound is the absence of the mother. And I said that the father wound was the absence of the masculine being able to seek the feminine, right? So the reason why the answer to healing the patriarchy is the matriarch is because everything starts with the feminine. And ultimately, the father wound is just the abandonment of the feminine within the father. All of it is the abandonment of the feminine, but specifically within the father. And it translates into us having fathers that were emotionally dysregulated. So like, I have it further down the line to tell my story. But, so okay, I'm going to tell y'all the bullet points and then I'm going to explain, because my context to this is like, okay, so, a lot of our fathers are also emotionally dysregulated and put all of that energy into refusing to hold themselves accountable, which made us internalize it as either abandonment, rage, or feeling like you are unable to be taken serious because he never kept his word with you. It instills your need to chase respect from others when really you just still wonder why he couldn't be honest with you. You just wondered why he couldn't face his own shadow and stick the fuck around to be there for his child. Either you feel like you deserve the world and it's so hard to get / no one will give it to you but yourself, which is not true and is so isolating in this abundant ass world. Or you feel like you don't deserve anything at all because daddy never desired to give it to you. And as we heal over time, I definitely think we get to a point where we feel like we deserve a lot of things. But even when we've gotten to a point where we feel like we deserve it, there is still that underlying rage that sits there that's just like, sometimes you get burnt out because you are still having to give it to yourself. We had parents because as children, our only job was to be free. As innocent beings, our only job was to be free. As innocent beings now, our only job is to be free. But as children specifically, we needed to rely on our parents the most. And when we couldn't, that was internalized as abandonment. That was internalized as betrayal and loss and all of the things, because you should have just been able to rest. It's not normal that you had to grow up and move through all of this resentment just because your parents that decided to have you couldn't do that for you, like, it's okay to be angry about that. It's okay to have resentment towards that because it's not normal. But we're used to having to push through. Like, we're the part of the healing process people really don't explain is the fact that you have to let yourself be angry at the fact that you have to do this on your own now. Because we should have never been able to do this on our own. And we should have never tried. We should have never forced ourselves to. And a lot of that rage and anger becomes internalized, and we think that we're regulated until somebody pisses us off. And that leads me to my story. Like I said, I'm gonna read this bar for bar because I love how I worded all of this. So, my father never had emotional discipline with me, which made me feel like my feelings were uncared for. He would tell me he was coming and leave me waiting at the motherfucking door all day without ever reaching out to say anything to update me. He would be emotionally absent, but come around every once in a while and just spend several hundreds on me, but still disregard the fuck out of my emotions. Mind you, it was sporadic any motherfucking way, so the resources wasn't consistent. So not only did I attach my worth to resources, but I attached my worth to resources that only he was capable of providing when he wanted to. Because I didn't know the context or the ins and outs as to why he did what he did, so all I could do was assume. So he would begin fights with me if he was mad at my mom, which he definitely was mad at my mom for the entire first 18 years of my life. And when he begun fights, it always ended up in me getting literally cussed out for me trying to stand up for myself or her, because he was always talking shit about her. As a child, I was used to my dad getting irate or dissatisfied quickly, so literally I would walk on eggshells around him, and I developed deep anxiety in my body. That is the beginning of my nervous system dysregulation, to the point where I would shake at the sound of his name and then don't let me get in his presence, child. The way, like, I would be in full-on body shakes for several days for the entire duration that I was with him. And I just had to keep telling myself that, like, I just had to keep self-soothing when I was around him because he was never there to protect me. Do you know how exhausted? I know you know because you're watching this video. It is so exhausting. Hold on. Okay, sorry, I got a text. Okay, so, alright, so, okay, where was I at? Okay, yeah. So, to the point where I would shake at the sound of his name and then don't let me get in his presence. And he definitely acknowledged my creativity and athleticism, but saw it as just another thing I needed to perform well in order for it to be respectable or acknowledged. Not to mention, this nigga wanted a son. So, anything feminine that I could have possibly fucking did, I got ridiculed for it. I got ridiculed for it. And I am a feminine person. So, okay, I'm gonna FaceTime my baby. I'm gonna FaceTime my baby while we do this. And I'm just gonna tell them to be chill. I'm recording this video, but I wanted to be on the phone with you while I did it. You saw what? I'm recording this video, but I wanted to be on the phone with you while I did it. Okay. Okay, so we're back. But okay, so where's that at? Yeah, he wanted a I love you. He wanted a son. So like, imagine me minding my own little girly girl ass business, and this motherfucker come up to me talking about something. Oh, you got holes in your pants. You a slut. Imagine getting called a slut by your father. Do you wanna fuck me? It's not funny, but it's like, is that what you want? Are you the pedophile in question? Don't piss me off. You've pissed me off already. I'm sorry, but is that the goal here? So not only did I have like, and that's another thing I'll say, that nigga was the root of my Lilith wound. The root of my Lilith wound. If you don't know what that shit is, that's gonna be the next video, and that's actually gonna be a video on its own. But that nigga was the root of my Lilith wound, because why are you walking around trying to police my femininity as a man? And not only are you a man, but you're my father. That don't get weird to you. Chat, do it get weird? Okay. So, anyways, he was always telling me how I should conduct myself in accordance to a man. Mind you, I'm a raging lesbian, and I've been a raging lesbian since I was 8 years old. That will also be in the Lilith Room video, because y'all need to know all my business right now. But raging lesbian. Do you know how aggravating it is to love the feminine body and be forced mentally to think about a male's? I sucked dick for years thinking that I wanted that shit. I don't like dick. Like, I don't. That's not tea, that's not me. That's not tea, and that's not me. And something that the father wound will do is put you in a space. So the mother is going to set you up to feel like she hates you. But that father wound is going to be like, oh yeah, she hates you because you're not enough. Yeah. That inkling that you had, that idea that you had, that made you think that it was you. Oh, it is you. It's you. You're the problem. And it's because the father was supposed to protect you. So if the mother is supposed to instill honesty in you and the father is supposed to protect you, then the opposite of protection is instilling self-hatred. So even though you've already healed through self-hatred and you think that you love yourself, the minute somebody gives that they're playing in your face, you're going to unleash that rage on them. You're going to unleash that rage. Because it's going to take you back to that point where that nigga instilled in you that you should hate yourself. Even though you've already moved past that. Because it's deeper than mental. It's your body. It's the fact that you know all of these things about yourself. You know the truth. But at the end of the day, that nigga disregarded your emotions for so long that you now feel like motherfuckers just deserve to get it. And I get that, because motherfuckers do be deserving to get it, but motherfuckers don't really deserve to get it. And I'm gonna tell you why later, but motherfuckers really don't deserve to get it, because really you just giving it back to you. You just giving it back to you, and you think that you getting it. You think that you doing well. You think that you just a certified crash out. You crashing out at something. But it's not at other people, baby. I swear it's not. Okay. So, let me, okay, so long story short, my father was emotionally dysregulated, and that is why he instilled self-hatred into me, because he was consistently going out of his way to instill that shit into himself. Why? I don't know. And me being the curious little girl that I am, the curious little Pisces moon that I was, I always wanted to know why. Why would you deny yourself of heaven? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? But your version of heaven is not everybody's version of heaven. Your version of heaven is not everybody's version of heaven. And that's literally why we live in different timelines. That's why we all are in our own reality. That's why it's all our world and we're all individually just living in it. Because it really is all about us. It really does start with selfishness. And your mother's never going to tell you that, because your mother also probably gave herself away to the detriment of her. Yeah. Yeah, so you probably on both sides of the spectrum had to regulate your parents because your mom thought that martyrdom was nurturing, when really she was depleting herself. That's neither here nor there, though. Anywho, so I took on something that wasn't mine and took me to a place over time of having BPD. If you don't know what BPD is, it's borderline personality disorder. So I literally would have rage episodes of, like, literally pure rage, because I felt deeply played with, when really I was still holding on to my dad's rage because he didn't take emotional accountability. And so when you already, because 9 times out of 10, if you got a father wound, you got a mother wound. There's no way that your mother had sex with a man that was conducive to her healing. I mean, there's no way that your mother had sex with a man that was not conducive to her healing, and she was not also a part of the problem. You feel me? It just doesn't work that way. If it's one, you got the other. That's just how it works. So when you're around adults that don't take emotional accountability as a child, you naturally are going to assume their projection as your reflection. You're going to think that you are what they are putting onto you. You're going to think that what they're doing to you is personal to you, because you don't understand the nuances of what the fuck is going on, which is rightfully so. You shouldn't. You're a child. That's just how it works. Okay, so okay. Honesty and discipline redefined. Okay, so honesty and discipline redefined. Honesty doesn't have to be hard. Bitches is burping. Honesty does not have to be hard, and discipline does not have to be rigid. It's just the container that holds our devotion in place. The mother instills into you your ability to be truthful. A lot of the times, and I've been seeing this a lot lately, I'm over discipline. I just want to be devoted. Baby. Devotion is the feminine and discipline is the masculine. You are going to assume both. In order to maintain discipline, you have to be devoted to yourself. And that's just what it is. Without discipline, what the fuck are you devoted to? What are you devoted to if you have nothing to devote yourself to? The discipline is what you devote yourself to. I hope that makes sense. I really do. But, so next, aside from the father wound, we have the grandfather wound. which is the patriarchy. Okay, this is the overarching. This is where the father comes from. This is why the father wound is so fucked up. It's the grandfather wound. Just like the mother wound has the crone wound, the father wound has the grandfather wound. So the grandfather wound is the patriarchy, the suppression, and the erasure of spiritual legacy, which is your ancestors, your lineages, and overall your spiritual power, your spiritual knowing, the fact that we have bodies that remember through spirit, through energy, through soul, because our material body is just as spiritual as our actual soul itself. That is a direct disconnection from the grandfather wound. And the grandfather wound specifically says that respect is inherited, not earned. And while respect is earned. I'm sorry, that's just what it is. Respect needs to be earned. Respect is earned, just like if we naturally trusted the spirituality of things, we could inherently respect people because we knew their souls. But when I say inherent respect, I mean those elders that you had that was disrespectful as fuck, that were damn near inhumane, but still demanded respect from you because they were elders, instead of actually choosing to be decent human beings that earn that respect. People, you wouldn't have to take respect or have to force respect down people's throats if you was a respectable human being, right? Okay, so that's what the grandfather wound does. And we know that the way that colonization happened was based on the stealing and the control and the colonization, the pushing of slavery. Like, niggas was literally trying to create this space of inherited respect instead of earning it, because they were stripping the spirit of everything. Literally. So where the hell is my video? Okay, I mean my notes. Okay, so yeah. So the grandfather wound tells you that the only thing that's real is what you can see and what has already been created for you. You're not allowed to trust in the unseen and your own knowing. The father forces you to prove your vision instead of being patient and trusting your path. And it gets you to a point where you don't have patience for nothing no more, and you're fed up with always feeling tested. Like, it's this, and that's something that I will say, as somebody that works with Saturn, something that I had to come to terms with was my anger of consistently feeling like I was always tested through restriction. It frustrated me because I'm burnt out from consistently having to prove myself to somebody, when I know in this case I'm not having to prove myself to Saturn. I'm healing through the wounds and things of that nature, my father wounds, because Saturn and the father, they're together. Also, if you want to look into your astrology with this, your father wounds are governed by Saturn, and your grandfather wound is governed by Uranus. So if you want to know, if you want to look deeper into the astrology of your grandfather wound, look at your Uranus placement. If you want to look into the depth of your father wound, look into your Saturn placement. For reference, my Saturn is in Cancer, so I sit with the father and the mother wounds together. Fortunately and unfortunately, because it is a lot of work, but fortunately because I have no choice but to be a being of integrity, and that is very comforting because I grew up around a bunch of motherfuckers that had no fucking integrity. So at least I get to be the adult that I never had, you know. But yeah, so if you feel irate when you feel misunderstood or disregarded, if you're a highly emotional person, someone disregarding the sincerity of your presence or love feels like being misunderstood. And when motherfuckers don't take accountability for themselves, it feels like a slap in the face to you. When really, it's not. You need to stop trying to regulate them and let them be dishonest and leave them where they're at. It's not your burden to carry. Even though it's geared towards you, it's theirs. You may take on extra emotional burden because you love hard, when really, we all love hard. So why are you really taking the emotional burden? The depth of your love can never be tainted, but you will have to abandon what attempts to disregard your depth. Their lack of connection to self will feel like gaslighting almost to your being because you're so invested into them just because you care or love hard, when in all motherfucking actuality you're giving them the space to find loopholes in your devotion to your discipline with self. The heart just wants truth, and it beats the loudest when it's trying to grasp for it. We need discipline and devotion. Those are our masculine and feminine energies. And we have begun to hate the word discipline because of the patriarchy. Yeah, like, I don't really know how else to word that. I think I worded that beautifully. Like, we have conditioned ourselves to hate the word discipline, the concept of discipline, Saturn energy overall, because of the patriarchy. It's okay to have a level of discipline, you know? Because like I said, discipline is the container for your devotion. We wouldn't need to be devoted to anything if we didn't have a, like, you know, they're partnered. So yeah. So I said, the truth is, Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, being the ruler of the physical realm and government and things of that nature. We work with Saturn on the daily, yet he gets the highest amount of shit talking coming his way because people hate the truth that in order to prevail, you must experience restriction. We're tired. Ultimately, we're just tired. The father wound is being fucking tired and not being able to rest, because being able to sit with yourself is just being able to rest. Being able to be in your feminine energy is just being able to slow down and rest and not always have to perform and overcompensate for a lack of accountability and honesty. That's all. We're tired. Like, I don't blame us. We've been having to prove ourselves for years and years and years, and all motherfuckers just want is to love and be loved in peace. That's it. And it's not a lot to ask for. It's really not a lot to ask for. It's not. And that's where a lot of our anger comes from. Our feminine knows that it's not asking for too much to just rest, but it still feels like maybe like I don't know. It instills this sense of hopelessness and helplessness into our body. And that is where the fatigue comes from, and the nervous system dysregulation, and the genuine depression. The genuine depression that your body goes through. Because we're tired. And that's okay to just break down and be fucking tired. It's okay to let yourself be fed up. Because, as I said in the beginning of this video, it's not normal to have to experience being abandoned like that. And I use the word abandoned because even though there's a rhyme and a reason to it, these people are choosing themselves from a place of insecurity, not from a place of sovereignty. And we pick up on that. We pick up on that energy, and that is why it instills insecurity into us. You feel me? So, okay. Earth is a school for the soul, And we lost that knowing when we were disconnected from our abilities to sit with our shadows. Long story short, you gotta sit with yourself. You have to sit with your anger, and you have to sit with the frustration of not being protected. You have to sit with the frustration of having to fight for yourself all of the time. You have to sit with the frustration of having to be strong. Because no matter what, even if you break down today, you still have to keep going. And that in itself is enough to piss a motherfucker off. Because why do I have to keep going when nobody wanted to keep going for me? Why do I have to keep going for me when nobody wanted to keep going for me, you know? And it instills this resentment in you for yourself, where you get to a point where you don't want to take care of yourself because you feel like you don't have the energy to do it. Why? Because nobody had the energy to pour into you. And the father wound will put you to this place of like, well, I don't give a fuck about other people because nobody give a fuck about me. It's self-respect to allow yourself to have community, because you cannot do everything yourself, and the only way that you would be able to rest is if you can delegate to others. And delegating to others is not just having motherfuckers that can do things for you. It's allowing yourself to be responsible for your emotions and giving others the space to be responsible for their own emotions without taking that on. Releasing the need to be the reflection and just allowing motherfuckers to project and knowing that it has nothing to do with you. That is truly where your rest will come in. So, I have some closing advice. We're at the end. I have closing advice, and then I'm gonna wrap the video up. So, first, I really want you to sit with the fear and the underlying feeling overall of abandonment. And no matter how uncomfortable it begins to feel, I want you to start welcoming it. Because the feeling of abandonment is a coping mechanism that the mind makes up when it internalizes emotional curiosity without answers. So I'm going to give you your answer. I'm going to give you all of the answers that you need, honestly, that your little inner child could not for the life of you fucking understand. At the end of the day, we're all going to choose what works best for us, and we should. Selfishness is key for selflessness, and that's beautiful to say, but we have to apply that to the people that choose themselves in harmful ways. Choosing themselves will sometimes be at the detriment of you, and that is okay, because rejection is simply protection. They weren't meant to be here, and you needed to hear that from a nurturing figure. So give that to you now. Let your inner child know that it's okay to feel the deep pain that comes with accepting the boundaries of others, even if their boundaries seem to be the lack thereof. That's their problem. And while it can be projected onto you, please be so careful to not become the reflection of the pain of others. Become just as selfish and uphold your own boundaries, because how you expect others to act towards you is really your own basis of standards for self. It's your soul's knowing of what boundaries are needed to keep you safe. You won't understand what creates safety in everyone, but you can begin to deeply understand what creates safety in you and begin to attract folk that also do what's best for them in a way that actually suits your safety, because y'all's reference point of wellness will be reflections of another. Reflections are real. Do not get that mixed up with projections. The wounded masculine will throw up smoke and mirrors to make you forget how to exercise discernment. So, to combat the father wound, strengthen your discernment for your own emotional accountability. That is the highest level of respect you can ever give yourself. And at this point, it's not about journaling. It's just about you sitting with what is. That's it. It's just about you sitting with what is. Leave that nigga where he at. Leave those people, those ideologies, and those things where they're at, because it never had anything to do with you. Literally. And over time, the internalized anger will become compassion, because you'll understand that the decisions that were made against you in favor of those people may have been against you, but in the long run, it was harming them. In the long run, they are adding on to their karma. And when you try to emotionally regulate other people or take on the emotions of others, you're taking on their karma, which is becoming the reflection of their projection instead of just allowing them to project. So, if you take nothing else away from this video, let yourself be. Just let yourself be. Emotional regulation does not mean being angry, feeling it, internalizing it, processing it, knowing exactly what you feel, why you feel it, how you feel it, here, who, what, when, where, why, journaling it. And no, it can, but you need to feel it. Sometimes you need to punch something. Excuse me. Sometimes you need to punch something. Sometimes you need to stab. Sometimes you need to stab something, or just sometimes you really need to just let yourself sit in the fact that, like, you're livid. You feel played with. You feel betrayed. You feel abandoned. And that's okay. That does not make you or break you, and that those feelings are not indicative of your worth. Ultimately, those feelings that your father gave you are not indicative of your worth. You are worth everything. Everything, my love. Your presence is the most important thing on this planet, because nobody can do that shit like you. And I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart that you ever had to sit with the feeling of needing to protect yourself first. I wish that you could have been protected, and I hope that as you heal, you are able to sit in your own self-protection and attract others that also protect you. But in the meantime, just let yourself be. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to hold resentment. It's okay. It's okay. And sometimes the best thing that we can do for other people is to be honest with ourselves when it comes to how we feel and how they made us feel. Because when we hold on to people that are not for us, people that make decisions that are not in alignment with our own desires and our own highest good, we're hindering those folk from making decisions that are truly conducive to them, some way, shape, or form. You know, like, to a certain extent, I know that when we hold energy for one another, we create contracts, and we are bound in those contracts until we acknowledge that energy and release it. Like, my dad, he gave me a lot of guilt, and because he gave me all of his guilt, I internalized that as me feeling not worthy, and me feeling not worthy put me in a place where I felt like a damsel in distress. And because I held the energy of being a damsel in distress, the only contract that me and my dad could have until I finally released that is a dynamic where he felt guilty and where I felt like a damsel, and that was always our dynamic. Always. I was looking for him to save me, and he was always trying to figure out how to get out of things, because he didn't know how to save me, because he didn't feel like he had it, because it ultimately all comes back to the fact that he himself was emotionally deficient. So yeah. And I will say now, me and my dad's relationship, I don't like. I was literally on the phone with that nigga the other day. No shaking, calm. I even told that nigga about himself low key, and I don't I didn't tell him about himself, but I dropped out of college, and pretty much he was saying like he wished that he thought that I was gonna stick around, and I was pretty much just telling him like all of like these things. The most radical thing that I could have done for myself was drop out of school when my family and my entire life was surrounded around doing the stuff that other people wanted me to do. I never wanted to go to college. I knew that I wanted to be something spiritually impactful, and I knew that I ultimately wanted, I think I wanted to go to school for, like, to be a metaphysical major or something like that, because I thought that like that's what I needed. I always thought that I needed school in order to do what it was that I wanted to do, and I don't, and that's just, it's just what it is. And I was telling him like, you don't have to trust me right now, because I know that you only trust what you can see, and that's not my fault. It's not my fault. And he got a little offended, but the old me would have never been able to say no shit like that, because I was always walking on eggshells. But it's not my problem that he gets offended at. It's not my problem that he allows cognitive dissonance to kick in like no other. It's not my problem, because I personally am a truth seeker. So I know what's tea with me. So if he don't know what's tea with him, then that's him. And I've completely detached from trying to regulate his emotions, and I think that has put me in such a much more stable place, to the point where I feel like I can actually have a relationship with him now, because I'm not so invested into trying to make him be a better person, because he is who he is, and who am I to say that he could be a better person? He could be his highest self right now. I can just see more, because I'm holding people to the standards of me, you know? So I just see it as giving myself the full space and autonomy to be myself, and knowing that everything else will follow. And yeah, be yourself. Be resentful, be tired, be all of the things, and just let that take you to your aligned space. Let that take you to a place where you can truly be protected emotionally and loved. For real. So yeah, the next video is gonna be the Lilith wound video. I'm kind of excited about this series, to be honest, because this is work that I've been doing for like 5 years now, and I'm finally like fluent in it, and I can really talk about it. So yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. I love you. Also, tap into your sensuality. The best thing that you can do, the most radical thing that you can do, is be sexy, feminine, sensual, and in your rage. That's the most radical thing you could be. Okay? Alright. They got some guys trying to be radical. Fuck, I got a man for everything I take. Everything I ask for shit. Fucked up, 5 minutes.